Have you ever wondered what happens when you lie? It seemed to be harmless. There is a limit to the unexpected? Or rather, I would like to see in the universe, you may return it for a joke in a way that is so creative to look like a scene out of a comedy? Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be amazed, and, perhaps, change his view on how things will work when you least expect it. You might think that the scams and lies, they are just playing with words, and yet, at times, they may give you something that no one could have foreseen, especially when the universe decides to get a dose of justice to the poetic as well, at the right time. And, look, this is a story that I am going to tell you exactly about it. The situation is absurd, funny, and, at the same time, eye-opening, because it shows that even in the routine of the most common, and what appears to be a play, you can turn on a moral lesson that we never forget. Imagine with a normal room, in the office, where the days seem the same, with the constant sound of the keys, and the coffee is always hot, and the noise of the family, which is part of the daily life of any call center. Have you ever gone through this? Maybe if you can identify with the feeling of being there, listening to the hundreds of connections, and attending to the customers, trying to stay calm in the face of claims that seem to be absolutely impossible. It is against this backdrop that things start to happen. One day, a student, and to those who are still learning how to deal with the routine, she decides to have some fun with the customers as if it was a trick, a means of testing the limits, or even to get out of the rut. But it seemed like a silly joke. He ended up with a size that no one could have imagined. Because, sometimes, the universe has a way of really curious to give it a change for you, and this is a living proof of that. You're going to see it as a simple joke, which seemed to be harmless. It became a real lesson of the moral law, to pay an unexpected, and, in the end, it's a story that will surely make you laugh, or think. The most striking thing is that this story is not just a joke, not a joke, either. It turns out more about our actions, our words, and what we believe is right or wrong. Because, deep down, everybody knows that what goes around, comes around. And yet, at times, on the back it comes in a way that is so creative and so unexpected that it almost looks like a scene out of a movie. Stay with me, because the one who comes in the following we will show that, in life, and the universe has a way of its own, to put things in their proper place. And, believe me, you're going to want to stay till the end to understand what really happened on that day, the call center, and when the lie has become a moral lesson, with a touch of humor, surreal. And it is precisely in these moments of surprise to us to see how life is like for us in ways we never imagined. At the time, what seemed to be a simple exchange of words, it's a joke or a lie in the moment, if you turn out to be a lesson to you that it is marked in our memories. And it's not just about what happened, but about what made us think, touched us in some way, that I can't explain it very easily. It was as if the universe was telling us, that even the most unpredictable, there is always a reason, a connection to the unseen, which guide us. If you've ever gone through something like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you least expect it, it all fits together in a way that was so perfect, so full of meaning, that it seems like it was designed by someone who knows each and every detail of the way. And then, at that moment, we realize that each and every experience, no matter how simple or complex it may be, it is part of a larger story, a story that we are making without realizing it. Because of this, I want to invite you to share in the comments how was your experience with these moves that life gives you. How do you react when something unexpected revealed to you, or when a lie was the lesson? Your story may help someone else who is going through something similar right now. And this talk has made sense to you, leave your like, because it strengthens our connection, and YouTube understands that this is a message that deserves to reach out to more people. In addition to this, if you want to continue to explore these themes with me, and if you sign up here on the channel, every comment, every enjoy, it's a way to build the community of people who believe that life has in store for something to learn, even in situations that are more unusual. Right now, for us to continue to deepen this topic, there's something even more important what you need to understand. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, in fact, all of the things that seem simple, it seemed to be only a question of decision-making and attitude change. It is of a complexity far greater when we look within ourselves and with more attention to it. The true transformation is not a movement of the surface, it's not a quick decision that we make, and that's it. She's on a journey of discovery in silence, fighting the inmates will often prefer to ignore. And this is where things become more interesting. As we find our true essence, we've realized that we are so much more than what you show to the world. Many times, you'll see the mask of power, control, and happiness, but on the inside, there is a layer of the emotions, doubts, fears, and blocks, which remain invisible, and hidden from it by a layer of self-esteem, which, at times, it is more fragile than we'd like to admit. When we first started to explore the internal layers, we find that the greatest battle is not out there but in all of us. It's a silent struggle between who we are and who we want to be, from our deepest truth and the expectations that we create or what we have created. This insight is at the same time liberating and terrifying because it forces us to admit it. That's our comfort zone. Many times, it's a trap, a prison that we built with our own hands and without even realizing it. And there you have it. Everything seemed to be a matter of a change of attitude and turns it into a chance to get to know each other for truth, for understanding the why of accepting our own imperfections and learn to love the journey, even with its ups and downs. And then, in the process of self-awareness, we can begin to understand the true impact of our transformation is the rapid change in the achievement of a goal is fleeting, but the construction of a new mindset, a solid base that sustains all of us, even in the storms, the hardest. Because you are, in essence, everything that we look for is a sense of inner peace, in alignment with who you truly are, to connect with our deepest values. And, in this connection, does not arise from the day to the night, and she's built up gradually, with a lot of thoughts, and with many tears, and with a lot of questions, and, above all, courage, and a daily to face up to the truth, for as hard as it looks. When you are able to see beyond the surface, we see that the answers we seek are within us all the time. They are not magic formulas, shortcuts, quick, or, in the opinion of others. You are in our essence, in our ability to listen to what your heart really wants to say to us. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand that every decision we make, every choice we make, it is a very important part in the building of the new version of ourselves. The journey of self-discovery is a rollercoaster ride of thrills, discovery, and of the government. But, above all, it's an opportunity to reclaim our truth. We can learn to trust our intuition, and to understand that, in the end, we are all responsible for designing our own way. And in that moment of deep thought, it is important to remember that we are not alone. Each and every one of us carries within him a light which, when accessed, shines a light on the shadows that urge us to consume. So, the big question is, are you willing to jump in the deep end, to see that there are more true within ourselves, without fear, without judgment, and with the courage of one who knows that is the only way we can truly become? Because, deep down, that this is the most freedom you can gain, the freedom to be who we really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. And, in doing so, we find that the impact of this change is not only in the us, but it reverberates in our history, in our relationships, in the world around us. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, when you think about all of this, we see that the greater the force, which is the one that comes from within, that is fed by our own choices, our own courage to face and to reinvent ourselves. And that's where the real transformation happens on the surface, but the substance of the soul. And it is this essence that, when discovered, it gives us a whole new perspective on life, the challenges, and what really matters to you. It's as if, when you open the doorway, you start to see the world with new eyes, and with a brighter, more hopeful, with a certain quiet, we are capable of all of the things that we really want. Because, in the end, it's all the things that we are looking out for us, it's only a reflection of what's already out there, just waiting to be discovered, embraced, and, especially, had been reborn. And in that moment, I want to encourage you to think about, what is your highest truth that is yet concealed? You are able to feel the strength pulsating inside of you, even if he is still asleep? Because, perhaps, the greatest change starts right there, in the decision to wake up to this truth, to be silent, that you have the power to change everything. Leave us a comment, I want to hear it. And, to continue this discussion, I realize that a lot of times, we cling to a kind of shadow of the unseen that we have, which is a secret kept in the depths of our hearts, and the fact that we do not dare to admit to you nor to ourselves. This is true. It is like a seed of a quiet, growing slowly, almost imperceptibly, but one that, if not recognized, it ends up turning into a wall, which hinders our progress. It's like an echo far away, which insists on the need to be heard, and a voice inside you that whispers the secrets that we would prefer silence. And so, we ask ourselves, why is it so hard to face up to that essence that we have? For that, we would prefer to conceal what deep down, we know that it is a part of us, but it has the power to set us free? The answer lies in the courage to confront our own borders, on the understanding that every change requires a dip in our very essence, the one to look at it without fear, to be what you always try to hide it. It's like opening a door that was locked away for years, a door which reveals a space that is full of memories, the pain, the dreams, and possibilities that it will never allow you to access them. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand that the highest tensile strength does not come from outside but from the inside out. To a mind, that's what he insists on, maintaining the safety and security of the well-known, even if it means living a life that falls short of what we really have been able to experience it. To realize this truth is hidden, it is an act of courage, is a decision that many times, it seems scary, because it requires us to face our own shadows, our deepest fears. But, at the same time, it is a step that takes us to the freedom that we had never imagined they would be. This is how to pull off a sail of your eyes, and see the light in a way that is different, brighter, more vibrant community. That inner discovery is not only a revelation, it is a silent revolution that's going on inside of us, a change that happens in the soul, and the ways in which we can see, in the way in which we relate to the world. And, in the process, we realize that this is truth, because more and more uncomfortable than it seems at a first glance, it's our best friend, because it shows us exactly where our growth is hidden. It is like a compass that guides our feet into the path of authenticity, of consistency with who you really are. And when we can connect with it, we can begin to understand that life doesn't have to be a constant struggle to hide the parts of us, but it is a journey of acceptance, learning, and self-love. Each of the discovery of that truth is hidden. It's a piece of the puzzle that makes up our lives, and the more honest we are with her, the more aligned we are with our deeper purpose. And then I realize that the search for the truth, it is a journey that never ends, because with each layer that you peel, these skins unlocks new dimensions of who we are. It's like a dance operation between the invisible and the visible, between what we are afraid to show it, and who, in fact, we look forward to the reveal. And in this dance, no matter how challenging it may be, it is also our greatest opportunity for growth, freedom, and authenticity. Because, at bottom, all that we are, in the courage to be true to ourselves, to embrace our imperfections, vulnerabilities, and our essence is pure, the one who's always been there, waiting for the right time to rise and shine. I now want to go more in depth on this issue. The fact that we have this is like a key that can open doors to a life more fully, more in tune with who we really are. And when you understand it, you start to realize that the biggest obstacle that we face a lot of times we are to ourselves, our limits, our deep-seated beliefs that we are not enough, that we can't, or we shouldn't show you who you really are. But, in fact, that is the greatest illusion, is that it prevents us from moving forward. Because, deep down, we are stronger than we think, the more capable than we allow ourselves to be, and that strength is born, just the courage to face the truth that is hidden, to accept that it's a part of us, and that is to be incorporated into, we find our true freedom. And so, as I reflect back on all of this, I feel that the journey of self-discovery is a kind of jigsaw puzzle, emotional, wherein each piece shows a part of our being, as before, remained hidden from view. And, the more you'll be riding this puzzle together, the clearer it becomes that our greatest strength lies in authenticity, prepared to be honest with who you are, even if it means letting go of the masks from the expectations of others, or of long-held beliefs that trap. Because, in the end, it all comes down to a decision. You decide that you're going to listen to that inner voice, that truth is silent on the calls, even though it will bring discomfort and uncertainty. And this is the one that makes all the difference, because it marks the beginning of a new phase of transformation is real, and what is born from the inside to the outside. And then, when you realize all of this, I can see that the greatest beauty of the day is a chance for us to order what you always have been, but what we often forget, by the way. It's a reconnect ion with our own essence, the purest, the one that never ceased to exist. It just stayed dormant under layers of fear and doubt. And then, when you wake up to the reality of this fact, we can begin to see the world in a different way. The more you take, the more real. After all, when one is freed from the bondage to internal, everything around us becomes. And it is this transformation that begins within, and radiates out into each and every action, every choice, every relationship. Because, deep down, we are all the mirrors in such a light that, once lit, illuminating the path for those seeking to reconnect with their highest truth. I now want to go more in depth on this issue. The fact that we carry it, as the seed of a new beginning, a chance to be born again, to be what you really are, without fear, without masks, without any reservations. And, as most will accept that in essence, the more we realize that it is the greatest source of power, and coming from a place of authenticity and pure. And it's this authenticity that, in turn, give us the courage to face any challenge, to overcome any doubt. It is because we know that we are in alignment with who you truly are. It is a journey of discovery, continuous release, emotional, dive deep into our own souls, where each step is taken with the faith and the courage it takes us to a version that is closer to the truth, the more full of themselves. And, in the process, we realize that the most powerful force we have is honesty with one's own history, with the feelings of our hearts, and, above all, with what we feel to be the most pure. Because, in the end, the truth is the light, and she can be our guide along the paths of more authentic and meaningful life. Says right there, I came to realize the truth. And, if you notice that an intimate connection with our true essence, we have begun to understand that many of our aches and pains, frustrations, and blocks coming to an unconscious attempt to deny it or hide from this fact, more in depth. It is as if, in an effort to protect, to create layers, masks and expectations that draw us away from what we really are. And, try as we might to escape, or to deny, the truth, the more quiet it is, you will always find a way to do this, his voice gentle and insists on being heard. The more we reject such a message, the more it seems to be, and some of it spills over, and forces us to face up to the things that we avoid. At this point, we realize that authenticity is not a choice of the surface, but it is a vital necessity of reconnecting with who we really are, even if it means letting go of appearances or conventions in the trap. Every decision that we make on the basis of this fact, it is like a seed that sprouts and grows, transforming our perception of the world and of ourselves, making it a gateway to a life more in tune, more full, more real. And so, on this journey of self-discovery, we come to understand that it is the courage to face the truth. It's an act of self-love, a silent revolution that begins in the soul, and it reflects in our actions and in our words and in our hopes. It's like a light that, once lit, illuminating every dark corner of our history, revealing the details of it before you are hiding in the shadows of fear or doubt. In this light, when it is recognized and accepted, it becomes our best friend, because it reminds us that we are all deserving of living a life that is authentic. The connection is real with all that is within us. And when you do that, you start to realize that the transformation does not come from the outside, but from within. The answers we seek are in the courage to be true to our own personal narrative and to accept every scar, every mistake, every achievement, as an integral part of our development. And then, perhaps, the most beautiful of all of this is to realize that this is a journey of authenticity. Does not have to be a battle, a lonely one, but it's a delicate dance between what we are and who we wish to become. In it, we learn to put our trust in the weather, in the field of rehabilitation, and the force which is born of honest recognition of one's own truth. Because, deep down, that the quest for authenticity, this is a bridge that takes us back to our center, to the place where it all makes sense, and where peace begins with a flourish, even in the midst of the chaos of the outside world. With each step taken in this direction, it is a declaration of love to our work, the more genuine, a call for us to let go of the mask and be allowed to live with a soul, with a heart of light, and with the certainty that when we are truly ourselves, we are building a more solid foundation for a life of meaning and fulfillment. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. This needs to be true to our own personal stories that reveal an invisible layer, which is often ignored, a kind of golden thread that connects all of your experiences, both good and bad, to the core of the most pure. It is as if, in the course of time, the people were piling on the layers of conditioning, other opinions, and expectations, which, in fact, don't belong to our life, but it turned out to be a part of our narrative, a kind of adaptation or survival. And, in the process, we've become so accustomed to living in accordance with these itineraries, taxes, and we have lost the connection to the things you really feel, which makes it vibrate, which makes sense. It's as if a part of you is constantly on the quiet, hidden under a mask of the convention, while the other part of the fight to break out, to be heard, to be seen as authentic. This struggle quiet, it is an internal battle that takes courage, because to confront our own individual truth, it often means giving up a safety, an appearance, a sense of identity that we have built over the years, and relationships that don't fit anymore with who you really are. But this is the only way for a true transformation, to accept that our lives had never ceased to exist, even though you were asleep, tucked under layers of fear or doubt. And, in doing so, we realize that the universe conspires in favor of the one who allows you to be honest with you, because of this honesty, however, is the one that connects us with our true passion. Our purpose is much deeper and more to the people who really make sense to do so in history. It's like, to be free from the shackles of a lie or self-deception, we begin to see more clearly the path that you have always been there, invisible but present, just waiting for us to have the courage to take the first step. This is a journey of self-discovery is, at its core, a quest for freedom, for autonomy, an emotional life that will not be shaped by the desires of others, but by a genuine desire of our hearts. And, if you allow that freedom to the people, becomes a source of inspiration for those who also seek that connection with your own truth, and creating a knock-on effect of the authenticity of its spread, and one that turns it all around. It is in this movement for the courage and vulnerability that we find the real strength that comes from within, and that it is not dependent on the validation of the outside, which is not limited to, the criticism of, or difficulties with, but that remains unchanged, because it is born of the purest love that we can cultivate love for ourselves. Because, deep down, it all comes down to one simple point. How much are you willing to give up what we hold on to embrace the things that you truly are? And that response is a choice, and a daily choice that we make from time to time, for a constant renewal of the commitment to the core closer to the truth. And, when you think about it, we realize that authenticity is more than a goal to be achieved. It is a state of mind, a way of life that allows us to navigate in the storm, with more lightly on the planet, with no hope, and with the certainty that we are in line with our own truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because you are, in essence, that the quest for authenticity is not something that is outside of us, something that we can acquire or conquer, at one time or another, but it is a journey of the silent, often invisible, that takes place in the depths of our being. It is as if, in the course of time, the people were piling on the layers of expectations and opinions of others, and of the fears that we don't always get to name it, and these layers will form a kind of a mask, and a look to what we believe to be our own, but which, in fact, it is a unique design for something that doesn't belong to us, to the truth. And then, at a certain point, the subnet mask start to weigh in, and she starts choking on that part of us that still want to breathe freely, which is still in search of a deeper meaning in your own existence. This feeling of being disconnected from their own essence, it is like a wound that is invisible, a constant doubt, that seems to whisper, am I being true to who I really am? Or am I just living out a version of which has been shaped by others, by circumstances, by the social expectations? When you see that many of the times we come across with the grief, they are silent, with a desire to break the chains of invisible, to make room for the things that have always been there, hidden behind the layers of conditioning. And it often comes with a mix of fear and hope, such as in a port, which opens up a realm of possibilities, but it is also a field of uncertainty. Because, after all, is to abandon what has been, what it was to be expected. It requires the courage to confront our own borders, to dive into the unknown, which exists in all of us. That courage, however, is the one that allows us to gradually reclaim our true freedom, one that arises from the understanding that we are the authors of our own story, even though it is still under construction, the same as that of the steps. At times, they seem to be uncertain. And on this path of discovery, we learn that authenticity is not the goal to be achieved all at once, but in a state of constant evolution, a continuous movement of self-acceptance, and to auto-amour. It is like cultivating a garden, where every flower that blooms it represents a piece of the truth that came out from the shadows and revealed himself. The more we allow ourselves to be who we really are, the more natural it becomes, this process of change, and the more easily we accept our imperfections, vulnerabilities. It is because we understand that they, too, are a part of our every. There is no need for perfection, because perfection is an illusion, a mask, who takes us away even more of our lives. The real beauty is in the imperfection, the authenticity of which is overflowing from the inside to the outside. They attract and inspire those who watch us. And it is this movement of the delivery that we have found for striking, the strength to be ourselves. Even if this means swimming against the flow, we may challenge opinions, to question the paradigms. This strength comes from the internal alignment of that deep sense of who we are by living what you believe, what you feel to be the most pure. And, in doing so, we begin to realize that our decisions, our actions, our words, they gain a whole new dimension of meaning, because they come from a place of authenticity, a true connection with our inner selves. The authenticity is, therefore, ceases to be an external search, and turns out to be a natural expression of who we are as a manifestation of the core closer to the truth, which is revealed in the simplicity of the little things, the courage to say what they feel, freedom to be who you really are. And, along the way, we begin to see life with different eyes, more aware, more sensitive to our own emotions and those of others. Why, when we connect with our truth, we must also respect the truth of others, to understand that each person has of his time, his process, and his own face masks are to be rolled back. And it's all a delicate dance between the inside and the outside of a trade-off for the lessons, the laughter and the tears, the moments of silence and speech. To this day, it appears as an individual is in fact deeply in the collective, because when you liberate ourselves from our own prison built-in, we inspire those around us to do the same. And so, the Real is no longer a search for the lonely, to become a positive force for change, is able to create connections in a more real, more human. And as you reflect on all of this, I can see that, at the bottom, the biggest challenge is not in finding our inner selves, but it is in keeping with the courage to live according to her, every single day, even when the world insists on pushing for the opposite. For true authenticity, it requires constant vigilance, constant attention in order not to lose ourselves in the midst of the chaos, and the opinion of others, the charges on the outside. It is an exercise in self-discovery, acceptance, self-love, which enables us to become more whole, more free, more light. And, in the end, the freedom to be who we are, in fact, is the greatest gift we can give ourselves, as a kind of a silent revolution that begins on the inside, but it has the power to transform everything around us. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because you are, in essence, that the journey is not just about finding out who you are, but to understand what is stopping us from being fully ourselves. Too often, we carry within us all the layers of expectations, fears, and limiting beliefs that have been built up over time, almost as if in an invisible body armor that we have tried to dress up to us to protect you from the world. But this is the armature. In fact, it holds us away from our true essence, that part of us that is pure, and that He knows our deepest truth, that they often ignore or silence them because of fear of judgment or rejection. And it is this resistance, this lock, it's kind of like an invisible wall that prevents us from moving forward, to break, to get in touch with the things that really matter. When you begin to look at the inside of sincerity, we realize that a big part of what limits us is the result of the narrative we learn from a script that was written by others or by ourselves, without any question. It is as if we are living in a part that is not our own, playing out the roles that have been imposed, bearing in mind that, at the bottom, we are the authors of our own story. And this realization is liberating because it gives us the opportunity to rewrite, delete the one that doesn't cut it anymore, and you create a story that is aligned with who you really are. But to do that, you have to have the courage to face your own shadows, to accept who often bear the wounds that still hurt. It still makes us doubt our worth, our ability to be happy, to be whole. And this courage is born out of the recognition that we are not alone in this process. They all, in some way, you are in for a journey of self-discovery, finding your own truth, and to break free from the bonds that hold it together. This is the dance of silence between what we are, and who we want to be. And, in it, we learn to trust our intuition, to listen to that inner voice that is often hidden by the noise of the outside world. It is an exercise in listening, compassion, and patience, for understanding our own essence. It is a task that requires time, care, and love. When you get to know each other better, we started to realize that the choices we make, no matter how simple they may seem, they carry an immense weight of the meaning. Every decision is an opportunity to reaffirm our autonomy, to reaffirm who we really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. And it gives a sense of freedom that goes beyond the here and now, which will impact all of our lives, our relationships, our dreams come true. Because, deep down, what we are looking for is that true connection with ourselves and others, is a bridge that will take us to our center where she lives, our authenticity, and our potential as genuine. And it is precisely at this point that the change becomes inevitable. When we first started to live a more self-aware, more in tune with our inner selves, we realized that nothing external can get us out of this inner peace I've gained. And peace, for his part, he becomes a powerful influence, is able to transform everything around us. This is a silent revolution, a revolution that is going on inside that shapes our reality in a way that it is not always possible to explain it, but that our hearts have been broken. Because, to be free from the bondage to internal, we become beacons of light, and clear examples of what they can live with more authenticity, more self-love, more truth. And then, when you reflect on it all, I see that this quest is never ending really. Every day is a new opportunity to further develop this understanding. It is to let go of long-held beliefs, to embrace new opportunities. That is, a constant reinvite the journal of evolution. And, in this way, you learn to appreciate the present and to embrace our imperfections as part of the process, and celebrate each and every small step forward, as this is a huge achievement. Because, at the end of the day, this journey is about learning to be our best, without fear, to show us the full. With all of that, we have more real. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, as you explore the essence that dwells within us all, we have found that the greatest treasure we can find our own freedom that's born from the inside to the outside, that it does not depend on the external conditions, but it is a big achievement and a daily decision to stay true to who you are, even in the face of challenges and questions. This freedom is what allows us to breathe, to feel, to love, and create with authenticity. This is the one that gives us the strength to face the world with courage and compassion, knowing that when you set us free from the bondage to internal, we are also contributing to the release of the world around us. And, as this discussion proceeds, it is clear that the real power lies in our ability to transform ourselves. We reconnect with what is most pure and true in all of us. Because, in the end, The greatest revolution that we can build on is the one that happens in one's own soul, which lights up the road to a life more full, more real, more of us. Says right there, I came to realize the truth. And in that moment of insight, it is clear that, for the transformation we seek is not something that is external to a change, which depends on factors outside of the us, but it's a journey of internal decision-making silent to confront our own shadow, to embrace our own vulnerabilities, courage, and compassion. It's as if, when you look at the inside, we could come across a source of infinite power that has always been there, hidden beneath layers of fear, the doubts, and the expectations that have been imposed from time to time. This is power. It often seems to be a sleepy, muffled by a routine of self-protection, which, although necessary at times, it ends up in the drifting away from who we really are. Recognizing this fact is the first step toward genuine change of a silent revolution that is happening in your soul, that you don't need the applause or recognition outside, but the one that turns it all inside out. In the process of self-discovery, we realize that many of our limitations are, in fact, mentally constructed, the stories we tell ourselves, and that is why, if you make it unquestionably true. And then, there is a question that is often avoided. To what extent are these stories that define us? How many of these limitations are not the only echo from the past, the patterns of legacy beliefs that have been embedded and which, for the sake of convenience, or of fear, we end up accepting it as absolute truth? When we begin to question this all, was something she said, with the freedom to choose who they really want to be. This freedom is, in essence, it is a decision that daily don't allow your past to dictate our actions, our feelings, our dreams come true. It is an act of courage to choose to take responsibility for our own history, an understanding that we are all the authors on it, and you can rewrite it at any time. To understand this, we understand that real change comes not from the great revolt or a sudden transformation, but the little decisions that add up to create a new narrative of the inside. Every act of self-care is more kind, each and every moment of silence that is dedicated to listening to what you really, really feel it. It's like a brick in the building of a new identity, and more in tune with our inner selves. And it is this deep connection to what is true in the inside of us is on a journey of perfection, but it is a journey of acceptance, lifelong learning, in patience, in our own cases. It is understood that the growth is not linear, and that, in many instances, the most important steps to take place, in the stillness, in the quiet thinking, the willingness to embrace that which makes us uncomfortable, without judgment, and with an open heart. And when you do that, you start to realize that the biggest impact we can have on the world is the one that comes from a source inside an authenticity that moves, that breathes in. When we are in alignment with our truth, our actions will earn you a quiet strength, a power that reverberates beyond what we could ever imagine. It's like a light that, shining from the inside out, illuminates the ways, not only to us but also to those who cross our way. In this light, it is this authenticity, this is a seed of hope, transformation, and freedom. And then, when we allow ourselves to live in the truth, discortonamos a whole new perspective on what's really important, that you're able to create a life more full, more real, most of us, simply because we choose to, every day, to come back to the heart of who we really are. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. You know, when we dive into the essence of this search, we found that the true liberation happens when you stop seeking external validation. We stopped in on the measure to the standards that have been imposed, and we begin to get in touch with what you really feel with something that beats in all of us. In this connection, it is a bridge that leads to inner freedom that no one can take it away, because it is born of a deep understanding of who we are incomplete exactly as we are, even with our imperfections, our mistakes, and our dreams. It is a breakthrough to the perfection has never been the objective, but the authenticity of it, the courage to be who you really are, without the mask, without the mask, without the mask. And, in the process, we have learned that the greatest power lies in our ability to choose every day who we want to be, to take responsibility for our journey to break free from the shackles of judgment and fear. Because, at heart, a true freedom only comes when we seek what we believe in, full out, and we recognize that everything we need is already resides within each of us waiting to be awakened. And when you do that, life becomes a stage for endless possibilities, where every decision, every thought, every feeling, brings us closer to our essence is pure. It is a journey of transformation is about having the courage to look inward, to reflect on our own personal truths, the more uncomfortable they may seem. But that bravery is what makes us unique, what makes us move forward, even in the darkest days, because, deep down, we know that change starts right there, within our own souls. And, in addition to allowing the truth to flourish, we see the greatest revolution that we can build on is the one that happens in one's own essence, which is a great message, but you can turn it all around all of us, because, first of all, it makes us the same. Says right there, I came to realize the truth. And that's when everything changes, doesn't it? When we begin to understand that such a great message, this inner transformation is not something that is external, it depends on many different factors or events outside of our control, but, rather, a decision that comes from our innermost core. It is as though, all of a sudden, we see life with different eyes, noticing that some of our choices, our actions, and even our emotions in order to carry a burden that is too often ignored. And in that moment, it all becomes clear. The change we seek in the outside world will only happen if the first one happens inside of us. This calls for courage, and the truth burns strong in the hearts, fueled by a renewed awareness. This is the awareness that we are the authors of our own destiny, that you and I have the power to rewrite our story each and every day. Even though the circumstances may seem to the contrary, it is the one that really makes it stand out. We begin to realize that there is not a magic bullet, nor a ready-made recipe, but a daily choice to stay steady in the direction of what we believe in, to connect with our true nature, even if fear to try to convince us otherwise. Because, in essence, is the biggest hurdle many of the times. We are the same, our questions, our old patterns, and the inner voices that insist on telling us that we are not able to, and that it is not for us. And, at the same time, in the same voice, you can become our greatest ally when we learn to listen to what she really wants to say to us. It's time to move forward, to challenge us, to set us free from everything that limits us. And it goes to a fundamental question. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face up to it, walk through it, knowing that there'll be a light one, a new version of ourselves, which was expected this time of the wake-up. Each and every decision we take, every step we take in the direction of what really matters to you, it's like a seed planted in the revolutioner inside. Little by little, it grows bigger, stronger, and stronger, until it becomes a force out of control. It's as if we are building a bridge between the unseen in between what we are and what we will become tomorrow. It's a bridge of hope and faith in yourself, trust in your life. And, along the way, we've found something that might be invisible to you before our very core, that part of you that is pure, that which is never lost, even in the most difficult moments. It is as if, by reconnecting with her, to understand that all of our sorrows, our shortcomings and our questions had a purpose, a lesson that must be learned so that we can move forward. And when you realize this, we can look to the past, and with the most compassionate, knowing that it all was part of the process of growing up. The truth is hidden. It is this, that we are stronger than we think, and that our wounds can become our greatest sources of wisdom, and if the welcome and love and courage. And then there is a point at which it all fits together in a way that's more clear. It is the responsibility of us. No one is going to do for us what we can do for ourselves. The decision to change, to evolve, to move forward, it is a decision that depends on ourselves. And that, as simple as it may sound, it has a profound impact, because it starts a chain of actions that will reverberate in our own lives, in our relationships, in our own way. It's like a cycle of self-discovery that is never-ending, where each step reveals a new layer of who we really are, and of who we can be. And that's when you realize that a journey is not a straight line, but the spiral of the discovery of the constantly growing. Each and every drop, every challenge, every moment of doubt, it is the only part of the process of transformation. Because, deep down, the real change happens in our minds, in our hearts and in our desire to be the best, and to live with more authenticity and purpose. And when you do that, everything around you starts to change because of what we are by the inside of the echo in the outside world, creating a reality that is aligned with our deepest truth. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. And at this point, we realize that the quest for self-knowledge, it is not an easy task, and often requires the courage to face the truths they'd rather hide it, and confront the fears that we'd rather ignore. But it is precisely here that the magic happens when everyone decides to look at inside, the same as that of the mirror to show you something that hurts, something that challenges our comfort zone. Because, in doing so, we are setting us free from the chains unseen, which we hold to a limited version of ourselves. And then, in the free, open space for a new narrative, a story where you are the protagonists are aware of, that are capable of creating the life you really want. All of this is, in essence, it is a matter of decision-making. A decision to take responsibility for who we are and who we want to be. And this is an act of self-love, out of respect for our development, in the recognition that we deserve a life more full, more real, more in tune with our inner self's phone. Each step in this direction, it is a statement of what you are willing to change, to challenge the limit, to embrace the truth with courage. Because, at the end of the day, the greatest revolution that we can promote it, that is what happens in our souls, in our minds, in our hearts. And when the revolution happens, everything around us is also changing, in a way that is subtle but definitive. And so, we continue on this journey of discovery, knowing that each and every moment of insight, every decision, takes us closer to our true nature. Because, deep down, what we are looking for is such a deep connection with who we really are, to a link that gives us the strength, hope, and courage to move forward, even when all the paths seem to be unsure, even as the fear and insists on trying to stop us. To make sure that, when you listen to it with attention and love, and you can turn any challenge into an opportunity for growth. And, of course, it is the greatest victory of all. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. And then, when you think about all of this, we are not aware of it, the real release comes exactly from this: the courage to be yourself, to accept our own imperfections as a part of the process of evolution, to be able to recognize that we are in a state of constant transformation. Because when you accept this quest as normal, the pressure disappears, and the weight decreases, and it becomes all the more light. Freedom is born out of the understanding that you don't have a point of arrival, the final judgment, but an endless cycle of learning and growth. And then, inside the loop, each and every one of us has the power to make a difference, to reinvent itself, to bring about a new reality, just to decide that now is the time to be true to your own truth. He comments that I came to realize the truth. And there, in that silent reflection that seemed to wrap all around, I saw that the real freedom is not something that is achieved when a target is fixed, but rather is an ongoing journey of self-discovery. It is as if the realization that our own limitations are the buildings built for us to realize that we may, at any time, to rewrite the script that is believed to be in writing in advance. This realization brings about a sense of light, almost like a wake-up gentle, inviting us to open up your hands and leave you to hold on to so many things. In fact, it was never ours to hold on to the truth. It's a kind of liberation, subtle, and that it is born out of the recognition that it's all that holds us. It is, too often, a story that we've created in our minds, fueled by fears, worries, or expectations of others. And, at the same time, this freedom, it reveals something much deeper. It is about having the courage. Because, when you do decide to reinvent themselves, we are also challenging the things we have been taught to be a break with the patterns that seem to be unbreakable, and so, inevitably, leads to a resistance on the inside. It's as if it's a part of us wanted to stay in the comfort zone. The routine is well known, while the other, more pressing, she cries out for change, for the authenticity. And on this silent struggle, a lot of times, can only be solved when we have room for you, this part of it, more of a true master of your inner dialogue. At this point, we realize that our decision-making, even though small, they have a giant impact on our journey of growing, because every choice is an act of the reaffirmation of freedom. Here is where the metaphor that may help you to better understand the process: we are as a people in an infinite sea, where the sea represents our emotions, our doubts, our experiences with you. The compass that guides us is our essence, the one who insists on pointing out to you that you really are, aside from storm surges, temporary. And, when you are learning to rely on this compass, we can begin to browse more lightly on the planet, even when the wind seems to be against us. Because that's the real power comes from within, out of the belief that you're in control of our route, even if the sea is stormy. And so, each and every storm is a great opportunity to learn to rely on our ability to fine-tune your sails, to adapt, to go forward without losing the focus in the direction that is the most important thing: the truth. In the process of self-discovery, we have discovered that the greatest obstacle to many times, it is not outside, but within us, in our own strength to accept the change, the challenge to the limit. And then when we break down these barriers and internal, something that expands consciousness, the most extensive of who we are, beyond the mask, beyond the opinions of others. And this expansion gives us the freedom not to depend on external conditions, but on an internal decision to be true to our inner selves. This is a decision that requires persistence, because your mind is always in search of the comfort of a well-known, even though this is known to be in a prison disguised as a security. And there you have the courage to break free. She becomes the greatest act of self-love, because when you choose to authenticity, and we are also choosing to live a life that is really worth the effort, that is pulsating with the rhythm and the truth. I now want to go more in depth on this issue, because if you think about all of this, I realize that this is a journey of self-discovery and freedom. It is also a descent into the deeper roots of our being, where they are hidden truths, and we look at. These are the truths which, when faced with courage, we will release at once and for all of the box unseen that we have, many times, without realizing it. And to be free of these shackles, we have begun to understand that the real power lies in our ability to decide who we are, regardless of what the world was waiting for, or that we showed up here. It is an act of quiet strength, a revolution in the home that transforms the way we see the world, and to stand in front of him. It is in this space of self-awareness that we have found that all change starts within, and that every transformation is true. It is a matter of choice of the will, and the courage to look inward and reconnect with who we really are. And, if you notice that kind of depth, it is clear that the path was never one to seek out something that's out there, but to recognize that everything that has always been inside of us, that strength, that essence, that's true, we just need to be out on the streets. And when you do that, you start to realize that freedom is not a final destination, but rather a way of life, of breathe, of course. One way to look at life with new eyes, with an open heart, knowing that every step we are building our own realities with our own hands. It's like it's a dance operation between who we are and who we choose to be in a routine where every move is a statement of our originality. And, at this rate, we find that the greatest revolution that is going on inside of us, it's quiet, but you can turn it all around all of us, because when we are liberated from our own limitations, and the world begins to open up in a way that seemed to be impossible. And at this point in time, we realize that true freedom lies in the awareness that we are the authors of our story, that we are able to write the new chapters, at any time. You just decide that now is the time to be true to one's own truth. Each and every decision, however small it may seem to you, it's like a seed planted in fertile soil, so-called self-knowledge, and to nurture them with love and courage. We saw the bloom of a life more in tune with who you really are. And there you have it. The authenticity goes on to be our best friend, because it gives us the strength to weather any storm, to resist the temptations of the outside world, which try to shape, stay true to who press most heavily on in all of us. And so, their journey becomes a dance of liberation, is a celebration of a constant to the potential to create a situation that is authentically our own, a life that resonates with our inner selves more deeply. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because that, when you immerse yourself in the reflection, I can see that, at the bottom, all of this is the search for freedom is also a search for connection with something that is more true in the us. It is a journey to reconnect with our essence, that part of you is pure and untouched, which insists on the need to stay hidden under the layers of fear, self-doubt, and expectations. And, when you enable this connection, we begin to realize that we are not separate from life, and that we are part of a team that beats with the same amount of force that is pressing in our own hearts. This understanding gives us a sense of belonging, of being exactly where you're supposed to be, living in what was meant to be lived in. And, at the same time, it is this connection that gives us a responsibility to ensure that the essence of nurturing that spark that keeps us alive, authentic, and free. Because we are a part of all of this, we are also responsible for the maintenance of live fire, and to protect the truth that makes us unique. And, in doing so, we found out that the real evil is a daily choice, a decision to retain some of the connection that there's a genuine, deep within us, even in the face of the storms that life brings. And, at this point, it all becomes a question of courage, of willingness to be naked in everything that limits us, and if you open up to who we truly are. It is a journey of transformation, which requires a constant renewal, and a willingness to look inward, to listen carefully to what our soul urges us to reflect. Because, deep down, that this is the greatest truth of all, the power of change lies in our ability to listen, to feel, to trust our inner voice. And, in doing so, we realize that freedom is an everyday, made up of little deeds, the more informed choices, and an unwavering faith in one's own heart. It is a journey of self-discovery that never ends, because with each layer that we are going to exposing it, the more we come closer to our true selves, the one that never failed to be there, just waiting for you to reconhecimos. And when you understand it, everything is clear. We are the creators of our own destiny, and that is the key to a fulfilled life, is to be true to who you really are regardless of all that the world tries to put on us. Because, in the end, freedom is our greatest gift. An inheritance is what you get when we allow ourselves to be who we truly are, courage, and love, and an unshakable faith in one's own journey. If you've come this far, it's because that's the message he spoke to you in some way. Few people have been able to stay until the end for a video like this, and if you're here, I'm sure it's something inside of you resonated with this thought. He writes that it was for me. It's good to know that even in the rush of day-to-day, you put in the time to listen and think about all of this. It not only shows that you are open to grow, and to learn more about themselves and make their own story. If the conversation has touched you in some way, it is useful to subscribe to the channel. Here, we sought to create a space for your thoughts to grow, and reach those who need to hear exactly when you need it. And, if you get this message it made sense to you, leave the like, so that we can continue bringing you the content that you are making a difference in the lives of those who follow. And, of course, if you'd like to share a little about your experience, or to leave a little insight into the scope of the reviews has been opened. He comments that I'm with you till the end of it. Thus, we are able to create a connection to a stronger, exchanging energy and life lessons. Now, if you've enjoyed this conversation, I've got an invitation to do a video here on the side that complements all of that, and a natural continuation of this journey of understanding who we are and how we can live with more authenticity. Click there and follow me, because the journey is still on and there is always something new to discover. It gets to me, because it is the next step in such a journey. Can you be the one that you need to transform your life? This journey is mine, and it's really nice to know that we can walk together in the process of evolution and discovery.